although they've really hashed up over the last 14 years, it was absolutely awful. But in our area, we've been very well looked after.
They don't seem to have a grip on what actually people care about in the country, I would say.
And I think the danger at the moment with all these parties is this whole stupid word diversity has created so much division that Labour going on about this stuff and the other getting in and free Palestine. Actually, I'm not interested in free Palestine. I'm not interested in Israel. I live in England. I'm interested in getting hospitals done.
While election night wasn't fun for a lot of Conservative MPs, it was pretty good for Bob Blackman. He was one of only 3 Tory MPs to increase their majority and the only one to be returned with more than 50% of the vote, making Harrow East the safest Conservative seat in the country. I'm here to find out why. Jill, this is now the safest Conservative seat in the country.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think we're a load of snobs around here.
How did you vote in the last election?
By post.
How did you vote in the last election?
Conservative. Which I never thought I would do, I've got to tell you.
Was that a vote for Bob Blackman or was that a vote for the Conservatives?
It was a vote for Conservatives, actually. Yeah, because although they've really hashed up over the last 14 years, it was absolutely awful. I mean, we've had 4, don't forget, prime ministers and everything.
Yep.
But in our area, we've been very well looked after. And that's a very selfish thing to say. We have been well looked after. We have been listened to.
I was voting for Bob and the Conservatives.
What is it that you liked about the Conservatives?
Well, I like them. I'm just worried about what Labour was going to do.
What were you worried about?
But, well, I suppose more on immigration, I suppose, is one thing. And nothing against immigration per se, but obviously you've got to limit numbers because of housing and GPs and everything else. Also concerned about their stance with Israel, whether to be as supportive as Conservatives were.
How did you vote in the election?
I voted for the Green Party. It was a toss-up between Labour and Green, and then on the day I decided I'd vote for the Green Party. As everyone always says, nobody ever votes for them, so I was like, well, let's give them a chance.
I don't like any of the parties, I think they're all disgusting, but I mean, I think the Conservative Party have looked after us living here.
Did you vote in the last election?
I did not know.
Why didn't you vote?
So for me personally, when I didn't vote is because I felt like I'm not knowledgeable enough on it.
Right.
So I do listen to the MPQs all the time, but it's still very hard for me to know what the right decision is. And I kind of feel like with me not waiting, everyone else's vote is worth a little bit more. Right, if that kind of makes sense.
You should have more confidence.
I know, right?
You're worth as much as everyone else.
Yeah, I know.
You said Bob Blackman does a good job locally.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, he seems to always, we have various events and he always turns up and he's been very helpful on various schemes. For example, I think he helped with the, in Stanmore they were going to do the development, ridiculous development in Stanmore station, and he helped to stop that.
I have never encountered racism here. And I'm Jewish, and I've never encountered it here. And I think that the community actually looks after each other. We love the Indian community. We speak with the Muslim community, and we don't have this segregation.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from the top. And I think the danger at the moment with all these parties is this whole stupid word diversity has created so much division that Labour going on about this stuff and the other getting in and free Palestine. Actually, I'm not interested in free Palestine. I'm not interested in Israel. I live in England. I'm interested in getting hospitals done. And the fact that seats have been won in the country for free Palestine is pathetic. Because we are English, I want hospitals, doctors, get an appointment locally.
I think it's down to the demographic of the area. I think it is Bob Blackman did quite a big campaign around here. He came door to door, he knocked on my door. It wasn't the result that I was expecting, but I think it is down to the demographic of the area. I've trouble with that one. The demographic of the area, the people that are here and their background.
Talk me through the demographic.
I would say that the area is quite a wealthy area in comparison to the rest of the surrounding boroughs and things like that. I would say that there's a lot of second-generation immigration here, and I believe that they have seen the government and the local government support them through that transition, and I think that they just want to keep the status quo.
That makes sense. Bob Blackman himself seems to be quite popular in this area.
He is. Bob Blackman, he is a master at what he does.
What do you mean by that?
I would say that he's very good at ensuring that he makes sure that everybody feels like they are included. He reaches out to lots of different people, but he definitely has kept on top of who is current in the area and how he appeals to them.
I think it sounds from, I guess, speaking to more senior people around here, like maybe I think there's a lot of goodwill towards the MP in particular, I would say, and maybe just a slight, I'm not sure, maybe some conservatism in the sort of background of the people who've moved here and just the kind of the older people who've come here, and yeah, I guess it's probably not been gentrified here to kind of the extent of other places in London have, I would say, but that's from first impression, maybe something along those lines, but it's quite a wealthy area, lots of people with like big houses who are doing big extensions. Don't know, I think maybe all that has a bit of a factor to play.
The issues that matter to me, mainly around, I think, the NHS and waiting times. I myself have experienced something where I've had to wait nearly 9 months for a gynecological appointment, and it's just unacceptable, really. I think in particular women's health is something that's not really respected much and is looked into. I'd say that I feel like the government are out of touch in terms of, do they understand what the average person goes through on a day-to-day basis? Are they looking to the future, or are they just looking to succeed for themselves? Is there ego in there? And all of these sorts of things. So for me, that's mainly, I just wanted somebody who looked like they were going to be honest, somebody who would have something to say about the future, and also to look into what actually currently matters to people. I don't think there's enough of that done.
Say there was an election tomorrow, there's not going to be, obviously.
Right.
But what policy issue matters to you the most, would you say?
One of the most, I suppose, immigration is very important, education, also on tuition fees. So my son has got huge debt and he's paying like 9% interest on that debt.
Oh my God.
People didn't realise that.
Yeah.
So he's paying a fortune. He needed to get a degree for what he did. But the government, I think they sold it off to a private company. So it should be amount of inflation, or 1% above inflation, not 9%.
Yeah.
So that is a very big problem.
Do you feel sorry for your son's generation?
No, I don't for my son, because he's done very well.
Yeah,
but yeah, generally, yes, because obviously the tuition fees, housing. So when we bought a house, it was 4 times average salary, now it's 10 or 12. So it makes it much more difficult, more stressful, because they've got emails. At least when we went home from work, we escaped the office, where it follows you around 24 hours a day. So, and also I think for young children, with COVID, there's certain children who have been affected by COVID. We've got grandchildren, so I do worry about their future. But
I don't think we have a leadership face currently, in my opinion. I used to like Tony Blair. He wasn't Conservative. But I think we do lack a proper leadership face in our country. It doesn't really matter at this stage who wins or who loses. I think the problems we have faced since Brexit, which is where I've seen downfall mainly in the last 10 years. Since 2017, I would have thought. Since then, we lack leadership. We have had change of 2,000 prime ministers and 6 kings and queens and all that. It has been a bit funny. We need a stable government and stable leadership and stable face.
Is there anyone in politics that you would like to see as Prime Minister?
I did like Boris Johnson, I must say. It reminds me of Donald Trump. They look like brothers, but yeah, and somehow Boris Johnson has been a very strong personality in my eyes, and Rishi Sunak, in my opinion, has done a good job. He took over the position when everyone was resigning.
What do you make of the state of the Conservatives at the moment?
No, they're in disarray. It's a nightmare.
Do you have a preference as to who takes over as leader?
Not really. No, whoever they decide to choose, but they need to get their act together. They've had 14 years and they've made huge mistakes, and they didn't, they could have done so much and they didn't. They blew it basically.
Have you been following the leadership election in the Conservative Party?
Oh yes, I mean,
What are your
really,
thoughts on that?
I like Kimmy.
Kemi.
I think she's fantastic.
Mhm.
I think she's straightforward. I don't think she's nice. I mean, I don't mean that not nice. I
Yeah.
think she's, if you're a nice person, you're not going to get very well in politics because you're not being very sincere.
Mm.
I've seen her. I've been in the House of, a meeting with her in the House of Parliament with her. She was phenomenal. She's very straight down the line. She's human, but she's serious. And she says it. Don't say this to me because I didn't say that. I think she's great.
It's kind of like not really followed that much since the election, and it just seems a bit of a, I don't know, they seem to be clinging on to, I don't know, they don't seem to have a grip on what actually people care about in the country, I would say, and struggling to find themselves, I guess, with Reform on one side and Labour even a bit more central than maybe I would prefer, but that's meaning that they don't really have, I think they're struggling to find a position between those two parties, I would say.